Close your eyes and let the noise of the world grow quiet. Tonight we drift backward through the ages to a land where rivers shaped the world and the gods still walked among men. Breathe slowly and feel the air thicken with the scent of rain on clay. This is the cradle of civilization, the home of the Anunnaki. As always, I'd love to know where are you listening from and what time you are now, down below in the comments. I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from, whether you're settling in for the night or just curious about where these legends came from. I'm glad you're here. Don't forget to subscribe and share it to someone who loves it too. Long before pyramids crowned the desert, before Rome or Athens were even dreams, there was Sumer, a land of shimmering heat and endless plains, caught between two life-giving rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. Here, people built cities of mud and reed. They called one Eridu, the city of the first ones. They said it was not built by human hands alone, for the sky had opened and radiant beings descended upon the plain. They came, the Sumerians said, from the stars. They came in shining light, and the earth trembled at their arrival. These were the Anunnaki, the great sons of Anu, the father of the heavens. They brought knowledge, law, and order to a world still wild and new. In the tablets of clay, the story unfolds slowly, like a dream carved in stone. The Anunnaki built temples known as ziggurats, stairways between heaven and earth. Through them, the gods could descend and ascend at will. At their head was Anu, ruler of the heavens, distant, silent, and all-seeing. Below him stood Enlil, lord of the air and storms, whose word could move mountains. And beside him was his half-brother, Enki, god of water and wisdom, gentle, cunning, and kind to humankind. Together they shaped the rhythm of the world, the rising of rivers, the falling of stars, and the turning of the seasons. Each god ruled a city. Each city was a heartbeat of the divine. Uruk belonged to Inanna, goddess of love and war. Nippur was home to Enlil, the seat of command. Eridu lay in the watery deep, the domain of Enki, where all life was said to begin. The Anunnaki taught humanity how to write upon clay, to count the harvest, and to measure time by the moon. They gave them tools to plow the earth, laws to guide the heart, and songs to praise the heavens. Under their watchful eyes, humanity awakened and began to dream. Yet, in the stillness of the night, the Sumerians would look upward and whisper, "Will the gods ever return?" The torches of Eridu fade one by one. Smoke rises gently to meet the stars. The gods retreat to their golden halls, and silence settles across the rivers. Rest now, traveler of time, for tonight you have walked beneath the ancient skies and heard the first whispers of the Anunnaki. In these ancient lands, the Anunnaki had shaped the world. Rivers had been tamed, fields had been sown, and cities rose from the dust. Yet even in this divine order, something was missing. The gods had built their temples, but who would tend them? The fields had been laid, but who would harvest the grain? The earth was rich, but silent. The Anunnaki grew weary of their labor, and a restlessness began to stir among them. It was then that the council of the gods gathered in the shimmering halls of heaven to decide the fate of the world below. At the head of the council sat Anu, the father of the heavens. On his right stood Enlil, fierce and commanding, whose storms could sweep across nations. On his left was Enki, lord of wisdom and the deep waters, whose thoughts flowed as freely as the rivers he ruled. Around them gathered the divine hosts, their voices echoing like thunder through the sky. Enlil spoke first. The earth is vast, yet empty of purpose. The Anunnaki toil endlessly. We need hands to serve, to build, to worship. Let there be beings fashioned from the clay of the earth, mortal yet strong. They will carry the burden of the gods. But Enki frowned, for his heart was gentler than his brothers. He said, "If we make them, they must not be slaves. Let them be creatures of thought and soul, with the power to learn and to dream, for without wisdom, labor is hollow." The gods murmured among themselves, torn between command and compassion. Finally, Anu lifted his hand and spoke, his voice stilling the heavens. "So it shall be. Let the Anunnaki descend once more and shape the beings who will walk the earth. Let both strength and wisdom dwell within them." And so Enki descended to the riverside, where the clay was dark and fertile. He knelt upon the earth, and with his sacred hands he molded the first form of humankind. He shaped their limbs with care, their faces with patience, their eyes with starlight and water from the Abzu, the deep subterranean sea. To the breathless clay he whispered the words of life, and the figure stirred. It is said that the goddess Ninhursag, the Lady of the Mountains, came to his side. Together they infused the form with divine essence. From the mixing of godly blood and earthly soil, the first human emerged, fragile, trembling, but alive. When the gods beheld their creation, they were astonished. For though the being was weak compared to the divine, there was light in its eyes, an awareness, a spark of something eternal. Enki smiled, for he saw in humankind a reflection of the divine heart. Enlil, however, watched with unease. "They must remember their place," he warned. "They must serve, not rise." Soon others were formed. Men and women walked the plains of Sumer. They tended the temples, harvested the grain, and built great cities under the guidance of their celestial masters. The Anunnaki watched from above, pleased, for at last the world was in harmony. Yet as the moons passed and generations were born, humanity began to change. They sang songs not only to the gods, but to the stars themselves. They built shrines in secret, carved their own laws, and began to ask questions the gods had never intended them to ask. Enki looked upon them with pride, for he saw their curiosity as a gift. But Enlil's patience began to wane. He said, "They grow bold. They speak without reverence. One day they will forget who gave them life." And so a quiet tension began to form between the two brothers, one who loved mankind and one who feared what they might become. In the stillness of the night, the humans slept beneath the shimmering heavens, unaware of the storm that was beginning to brew among their creators. The wind carried whispers of change through the reeds of the Euphrates, and somewhere in the darkness, Enki gazed upward at the stars, wondering if destiny could ever truly be controlled. The torches of the temple flickered and dimmed. The clay tablets were set aside, their stories half-written, waiting for another dawn. The gods withdrew once more to their golden palaces, leaving the world to its fragile children. And as the night deepened, the rivers whispered softly, carrying the first dreams of humankind across the land of Sumer. The sun rose quietly over the plains of Sumer, its light spilling across the reeds and rivers like molten gold. The land was alive now. Fields of barley shimmered in the breeze. The air was filled with the scent of wet soil and smoke from distant hearths. Humanity had taken its first breath, and under the watchful gaze of the Anunnaki, the world had entered a new age. The gods ruled the earth not as distant myths, but as living presences. From their shining temples, they looked down upon the people, guiding, commanding, and sometimes watching in silence. Each city-state was a reflection of its divine patron, and every king ruled not in his own name, but as a servant of the gods. In Eridu, Enki's city, the waters shimmered with sacred power. The priests spoke of his wisdom and mercy, of how he walked among them disguised as a humble man, listening to their prayers. It was said that he taught the people how to build canals, to fish the rivers, and to write the sacred signs on clay. To those who sought truth, Enki was not merely a god, he was a friend. Far to the north lay Nippur, the city of Enlil. Its ziggurat rose like a mountain of stone, piercing the clouds. Enlil's voice was the wind itself, his command the law of heaven. The people feared him, yet they obeyed, for his word brought rain to their fields and storms to their enemies. He was the power that sustained kingdoms and crushed them just as easily. And in Uruk, where walls gleamed white under the desert sun, the goddess Inanna reigned in beauty and fury. She was love and war, creation and chaos, life and death entwined. Her temple was filled with song, perfume, and light. Priests and priestesses danced beneath her golden statue, their voices rising in unending praise. To love Inanna was to risk destruction, yet her people adored her beyond reason. In those days, the gods did not hide in the heavens. They ruled openly. Kings were chosen by divine decree, their crowns symbols of favor. The Anunnaki Council convened in the great halls of heaven, shaping the fate of both mortals and immortals. They decreed when the floods would come, when empires would rise, and when they would fall into dust. And so the world thrived. Cities expanded like constellations across the plains. Ur, Lagash, Kish, and Larsa. The rivers became highways of trade and faith. Everywhere, humans built shrines, carved offerings, and whispered prayers in the darkness, hoping their words would reach the ears of their celestial masters. But in the heart of paradise, unease began to stir. For while Enki loved his creation and watched over humanity with patience, Enlil's heart grew colder. The mortals had multiplied beyond measure. Their voices filled the earth, songs, laughter, cries, all rising into the heavens without end. Enlil could find no peace. "They are too many," he said to Anu. "Their noise shakes the sky. They no longer remember their place." But Enki defended them. "They are as we made them, brother. They build, they create, they dream. Their voices are the music of life." Enlil turned away. "They are chaos. One day their greed will consume the world we built. When that day comes, I will not stay my hand." The other gods listened in silence. Even Inanna, fierce as the storm, said nothing. For she too had seen humanity's growing boldness. They no longer trembled at every thunderclap. They began to question, to wonder, to imagine themselves as more than servants of the divine. In time, the world reached a fragile balance. The gods continued to reign, yet their presence felt more distant. The temples grew taller, but the heavens grew quiet. Humanity prospered, unaware of the divine tension that watched them from above. Still, the Anunnaki's gifts shaped every breath of life. Writing, agriculture, mathematics, astronomy, all were said to come from their wisdom. Kings called themselves sons of the gods, claiming lineage from the stars. Every law, every ritual, every song was a reflection of that divine order. But behind the grandeur and devotion, the storm Enlil had foreseen was slowly building. The people of Sumer began to fight among themselves. Kings sought power, cities waged war, and temples grew rich while the poor starved in the streets. Humanity, once the perfect creation, was now divided by greed. The gods watched. Enki wept for them. Enlil hardened his heart, and Anu, far above the clouds, said nothing. One night, as thunder rolled across the horizon, Enlil stood at the edge of heaven, looking down upon the sleeping cities. "The time of balance is ending," he whispered. "When man forgets his makers, the flood shall come." The stars flickered in silent agreement, and somewhere deep beneath the earth, the waters of the Abzu stirred. The night grew long, and the rivers murmured in their ancient tongues. Humanity slept peacefully, unaware of the judgment that crept ever closer. The air grew heavy above Sumer. The wind whispered warnings through the reeds, and the river began to speak in strange, restless tones. The moon seemed dimmer, the stars farther away. Something vast and unseen was stirring in the heavens. In the cities, the priests noticed it first. The smoke from their offerings no longer rose straight to the sky. It curled and faltered, as though the gods themselves had turned their faces away. Crops began to fail. Storms struck without mercy, and omens filled the night. The people prayed, but their prayers echoed back unanswered. Far above the clouds, in the shining courts of heaven, Enlil watched in silence. His patience had run dry. The clamor of humanity had become unbearable to him. Their greed, their noise, their endless hunger for more. He turned to the council of the Anunnaki and declared, "The creation has grown corrupt. The earth is no longer pure. Mankind must be cleansed." A hush fell over the divine assembly. Anu, Lord of the heavens, closed his eyes in sorrow, but he did not speak. Inanna looked away, her heart torn between love and fear. And only Enki, the god of wisdom and water, stepped forward. "Brother," he said softly, "do not destroy what we have built. They are flawed, yes, but they are alive. They are the song of the world." Enlil's gaze was cold as the desert wind. "Then let the song be silenced." And so the decree was made. The gods would unleash the great flood, and the age of humanity would end. In the city of Shurupak, a man named Ziusudra, faithful servant, priest, and king, lived in quiet devotion. He tended the temples, offered to the gods, and kept the sacred laws. One night, as he slept, he dreamed of water, endless water. It filled the sky, swallowed the earth, and rose above the mountains. He awoke, trembling. That night, a whisper came through the walls of his home, soft as a ripple in a still pond. Ziusudra. He knew the voice. It was Enki, speaking through the waters of the Abzu. "My child," he said, "a storm of judgment is coming. The gods have sworn to cleanse the earth. Build a great vessel, sealed with pitch and strong as the mountain's heart. Take with you your family and the seed of every living thing, that life may not perish." Ziusudra fell to his knees. "But my lord, why do the gods do this?" "Because they have forgotten mercy, but I have not." And then the voice was gone. Only the sound of the river remained. Days turned to weeks as Ziusudra worked in secret. His neighbors watched in confusion as the strange vessel took shape beside his home. It was vast, built from cedar and bitumen, painted with sacred symbols. By day he labored under the sun. By night he prayed that Enlil's eyes would not fall upon him. Then, one morning, the sky darkened, not with clouds, but with something far greater. The heavens began to roar. Winds rose from every corner of the earth. The ground split open. Lightning danced across the horizon. And then rain, endless, unyielding rain. The rivers swelled, bursting their banks. The fields vanished beneath the waters. Cities crumbled like clay in the hands of the gods. The ziggurats, once stairways to heaven, sank beneath the rising flood. In the chaos, Ziusudra's vessel lifted from the earth, tossed upon the angry waves. He held his family close as thunder shattered the sky. For 7 days and 7 nights the flood raged. Mountains disappeared. The sea swallowed all. Inside the divine halls, Enlil watched as the world drowned. Yet even he began to waver. Was this truly justice? He murmured, but his pride bound him to silence. At last, on the 7th night, the winds ceased, the rain slowed, the waters grew still. Ziusudra's vessel drifted upon a quiet sea. When dawn came, the sky glowed with gentle light, and he saw land breaking through the mist, a lonely mountain, silent and waiting. He released a bird. It flew into the distance and did not return. Then another, and it came back, carrying a branch of green. Ziusudra fell to his knees, tears mixing with the salt of the sea. He whispered, "The world lives." He offered sacrifice to the gods, burning cedar and sweet reeds upon the mountain. The smoke rose to the heavens, fragrant and pure. When the Anunnaki smelled the offering, they gathered once more. Even Enlil, fierce in wrath, was moved. "No more," he said softly. "Let the storm be ended." And so it was. The flood receded, the rivers found their course again, and the land emerged from beneath the waters. Enki descended once more, blessing Ziusudra and his family. "You are the bridge between the old world and the new. Live, multiply, and remember." And the Anunnaki swore an oath that they would never again destroy the earth by flood. The rivers flowed once more, shimmering under the newborn sun. Cities would rise again, but never the same. Humanity had survived, changed, humbled, but alive. Yet deep beneath the calm waters of the Abzu, Enki knew the balance was fragile. The gods had spared humanity, but the world would never again be as it was. The bond between heaven and earth had been broken. The rain had ended, but the memory of it lingered like a shadow on the wind. The world was quiet now, washed clean, bare and still. Rivers carved new paths through the softened earth, and mountains stood like islands in an ocean of mist. Humanity had survived, but only barely. Upon the slopes of the mountain, Ziusudra and his family watched the sun rise through a veil of golden light. The air smelled of salt and ash. The silence was heavy, as though the earth itself was holding its breath. Enki appeared before them one final time, his eyes like deep water. "The world has begun anew," he said softly, "but it must not fall again into chaos. You shall build anew cities, temples, and the memory of the gods. You shall keep the knowledge alive." And with that, he vanished into the sea, leaving behind only ripples and silence. The survivors spread across the land, following the rivers until they found fertile soil once more. There they built again, villages first, then towns, then cities. The age of kings was born anew. The Sumerians, who came after, told that the gods descended once more to restore the order of heaven and earth. From the shining halls of the Anunnaki came the May, the sacred laws, the divine blueprints of civilization, kingship, justice, wisdom, music, crafts, and love. These gifts were entrusted to humankind so that they might rebuild the world in the image of the heavens. In Eridu, the first city to rise from the mud, the people raised a temple to Enki, Lord of the Waters. They called it E-Abzu, the House of the Deep. There the priests carved upon tablets the laws and stories passed down through dream and memory. In the cool darkness of its chambers, the knowledge of the old world was preserved, the names of the gods, the measures of time, the songs of the stars. Meanwhile, in Nippur, Enlil's priests rebuilt the great ziggurat, its steps reaching once again toward the heavens. The people feared his power, but honored his strength. Every harvest they brought offerings to appease him, praying that he would never again call upon the flood. The world had changed, yet echoes of the divine still lingered. Kings ruled not as mortals, but as messengers of the Anunnaki. They bore titles such as Shepherd of the People and Chosen of Enlil. In their courts, they claimed descent from the gods, tracing their bloodline back to those who came from the sky. The oldest of these kings, the Sumerians said, ruled for hundreds, even thousands of years. Their names were written in the Sumerian king list, carved into clay: Alulim, Alalgar, Enmenluana. These were not just rulers, but bridges between worlds, half divine, half human, charged with keeping balance between heaven and earth. But beneath this new order, a secret knowledge flowed quietly, the wisdom of Enki, carried through generations of priests and scribes. It was said that Enki left more than just laws behind. He left codes, hidden in stories, songs, and symbols. Some spoke of tablets buried deep beneath Eridu, containing the secrets of creation, how life began, how the stars were ordered, and how the gods themselves came to be. In the evenings, the priests would gather by torchlight and read aloud from the ancient tablets. They spoke of the Anunnaki's home, a distant realm beyond the sky, shining brighter than the sun. They told of how the gods had come to earth, seeking resources and knowledge, and how their bond with humankind had been both a gift and a curse. The people listened in wonder, but also in fear, for though the flood had ended, they sensed that the gods had not truly left. Their presence lingered in the thunder, in the trembling of the earth, in dreams that came unbidden in the night. Some believed the Anunnaki still walked among them, hidden in human form, watching, guiding, and waiting for the world to be ready once more. As centuries passed, new kings arose, and empires grew across the plains of Mesopotamia. The cities glittered beneath the stars, and the temples shone like mirrors to heaven. Yet with every generation, the memory of the flood faded a little more. The Anunnaki became myths, their names whispered, then forgotten. Still, in the deepest chambers of the temples, the priests remembered. They knew that kingship had descended from heaven, as the tablets said. They knew that the gods had once walked the earth, and they knew that the bond between humankind and the Anunnaki was not broken, only sleeping. For every dawn is followed by dusk, and every silence hides a new beginning. The rivers flow again beneath the silver moon. The stars shimmer like ancient eyes, watching from above. The age of the flood has ended, and the age of kings has begun. But the secrets of the gods still lie beneath the sands, waiting for those who dare to seek them. Long after the flood, when the earth was green again, and the cities shone beneath the sun, a new age began, the age of heroes. It was a time when men still carried divine blood, when the voices of the gods could still be heard in the rustle of the wind, and when one man dared to challenge the limits of life itself. That man was Gilgamesh, the mighty king of Uruk. The scribes wrote that he was 2/3 divine, 1/3 human, born of the goddess Ninsun and a mortal father. His strength was beyond any other, his beauty radiant like the sun. Yet beneath his power there rested a heavy heart, for Gilgamesh feared one thing above all: death. He ruled Uruk with pride, building its towering walls from brick and stone, claiming that no city would ever surpass it. But his people suffered under his restless ambition, until the gods took pity and sent him a companion, Enkidu, a wild man born of the steppe, untamed and free. Their meeting shook the heavens. They fought as equals, the dust of their battle rising like smoke. But when the struggle ended, neither won. Instead, they embraced, brothers born not of blood, but of destiny. Together, they set forth on a journey that would echo through the ages. Their adventures led them deep into the cedar forest, home of the guardian Humbaba, servant of Enlil. With courage and defiance, they slew the monster, cutting down the sacred trees of the gods. For this, the heavens stirred in anger. Later, when the goddess Ishtar offered Gilgamesh her love, he refused her, and in her fury, she unleashed the bull of heaven on Uruk. Once more, the heroes triumphed. But the gods had seen enough. One of them had to die. Enkidu, the wild man, fell ill. For days he raged and dreamed, cursing the gods, then blessing his friend. And when he finally closed his eyes, Gilgamesh wept. In that moment, the great king learned the truth of mortality, the pain of loss, the silence of the grave, the fragility of life. Unable to bear it, Gilgamesh set out on his final quest to find the secret of eternal life. He journeyed beyond the known world, through mountains and darkness, across the waters of death, until he reached the ancient sage Utnapishtim, the very man who had survived the great flood. The old man listened to his plea and sighed. "Gilgamesh," he said softly, "you seek what cannot be held. Immortality is for the gods alone. You were made to live, to love, and to die, and through your deeds your name shall endure forever." Though Gilgamesh failed to gain eternal life, he returned to Uruk with something far greater: wisdom. Standing before his mighty city walls, he finally understood that even stone would crumble, but memory could last beyond time. And so the story of Gilgamesh was written, the first great tale of humankind, born from the memory of gods and men. The Anunnaki had given kingship to the earth, but through Gilgamesh they gave us something even more precious: the dream of immortality. As centuries passed, the names of the ancient gods began to fade, like carvings worn smooth by wind and time. The Anunnaki, once the mighty lords of heaven and earth, were no longer seen walking among men. Their temples still stood, their symbols still glimmered in the sun, but their voices had grown quiet. Yet in silence, new names began to rise. In the city of Babylon, built upon the banks of the slow-breathing Euphrates, the people told stories of a new god, Marduk, son of Ea, the one the Sumerians had once called Enki. Marduk was a young and radiant power, born from the wisdom of his father and the order of the heavens. The priest said that in the beginning the world had been chaos, swirling waters and shapeless darkness. From that chaos rose Tiamat, the dragon of the deep, and Apsu, the father of the gods. But when the younger gods disturbed the peace of the waters, war was born. It was Marduk who rose to end the chaos. With lightning in one hand and storm winds in the other, he faced the ancient dragon and split her body in two. From one half he made the heavens, and from the other the earth. From her blood came the clouds, the seas, and the life of humankind. And when peace returned, Marduk was crowned king of the gods, ruler of Babylon, heir to the legacy of the Anunnaki. In truth, this was not a new story, but an old one, retold. The memory of Enlil and Enki, reshaped for a new age. Where once the gods of Sumer had ruled from the stars, now their shadows ruled from the temples of Babylon. The people prayed to Ishtar, goddess of love and war, who was once Inanna of Uruk, the morning star. They called upon Shamash, god of the sun, the same divine light that once burned in the temples of Sipar. The names changed, but the essence endured. The heavens remained the same, only the voices by which men called them shifted like wind over sand. From Babylon the story spread again, to Assyria in the north, to Canaan, to the lands by the sea. The gods of the Anunnaki became El, Baal, and Yahweh. The flood became Noah's story. The tablets of creation became the roots of Genesis. The world had changed, but the memory of those who came from the heavens still whispered beneath it all. In every myth, in every prayer, in every dream of something beyond the stars. The priests of Babylon looked to the skies night after night, tracing the paths of the planets that glowed like divine eyes across the black horizon. To them, the stars were not distant fires. They were signs, messages from the gods who had once walked the earth. Each star had meaning, each movement purpose. The heavens were alive, the silent script of the Anunnaki written in light. And so the story continued, reshaped and retold, carried through temples and kingdoms, through time and translation. The gods no longer walked beside men, but their presence lingered in the stones of ziggurats, in the scent of incense, in the hum of sacred hymns. Even now, as we gaze at the night sky, we are watching the same constellations that guided the priests of Babylon and before them, the first watchers of Sumer. The names may have faded, but the feeling remains. That quiet sense of being watched, guided, remembered. The Anunnaki may have vanished into the stars, but their story never truly ended. The stars have not changed. They are the same lights that watched over Sumer, the same constellations that guided the priests of Babylon, the same silent witnesses to the rise and fall of all things. But the world beneath them has changed. The ziggurats have crumbled, the temples lie in dust, the rivers that once glimmered beneath the Mesopotamian sun have shifted, leaving behind cracked earth and memory. And yet, the names of the old gods still drift through time, like echoes that refuse to fade. The Anunnaki, those who came from the heavens, vanished from the eyes of men, but not from the imagination of humankind. Their stories endured in every civilization that followed. To the Babylonians, they became Marduk and Ishtar. To the Canaanites, El and Baal. To the Hebrews, the Elohim, the divine council that once walked among mortals. Their presence transformed, reshaped, and reinterpreted until history blurred into myth and myth into mystery. In the modern age, new storytellers began to ask ancient questions. Who were the Anunnaki truly? Were they gods or something else? Beings of knowledge, travelers from the stars, visitors from a forgotten age. The old tablets spoke of their descent from the sky, their shimmering ships, their knowledge of the heavens and the earth. Some say they came to shape humanity, to give life to clay. Others believe they came to teach, to guide humankind toward civilization, wisdom, and order. Perhaps both are true. Perhaps neither. The truth, like the desert sand, shifts with every gust of time. But even now, as night falls over our modern world, their legacy continues to whisper. Every dream of a lost golden age, every myth of beings descending from the sky, every human yearning to touch the infinite, all are part of the same current that began thousands of years ago beside the rivers of Mesopotamia. We may no longer build temples in their names, but we build towers that reach the clouds. We send metal ships beyond our own world, chasing the same stars the Anunnaki once watched. We are, in our own way, continuing their story. So, as you rest now beneath the same sky that watched over ancient Eridu, imagine the lights above you not as distant fires, but as eyes filled with memory. Perhaps the Anunnaki never truly left. Perhaps they live on, not in temples or stone, but in the quiet spark within every dreamer, every seeker, every soul that looks up and wonders where we came from. The story of the gods was never meant to end. It was meant to evolve, to live within us. And so, as the stars shimmer and the night deepens, the tale of the Anunnaki closes, not with an ending, but with a return. For every story of creation is also a story of remembrance, and every whisper of the past is a promise that nothing truly fades.